The words came out cold, sharp, and final, echoing across the bright glass walls of the luxury cafe. The billionaire's voice carried a certainty that left no room for misunderstanding. A few people nearby paused their conversations, sensing the tension in the air. Across the table sat a man whose tired eyes held both dignity and pain. He had heard rejection before in life, but this one felt different. This one was about more than love. It was about his child and the quiet sacrifices that had shaped his entire world. Arman Qureshi was not the kind of man people noticed in a crowded city like Dubai. He worked as a night shift mechanic in a small auto garage near the industrial district, his hands always stained with grease, his clothes smelling faintly of metal and oil. Life had hardened him early. 3 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone with their 5-year-old daughter, Zara. Since that day, Arman had learned to be both father and mother. His mornings were filled with making breakfast, tying little shoelaces, and walking Zara to kindergarten before rushing to catch a few hours of sleep before his night shift began again. But Arman carried something rare in his quiet life: unwavering devotion. Everything he did was for Zara. Every overtime shift, every sleepless night, every moment of exhaustion was endured because her laughter made it worth it. And it was that very love that had brought him to this strange meeting today. Because sitting across from him was Ryan Malhotra, one of the youngest tech billionaires in the region. At only 35, Ryan had built a global logistics empire worth billions. His name appeared regularly in business magazines, and his lifestyle was the stuff of headlines: private jets, luxury penthouses, elite social circles. Yet behind the polished image was a man known for being emotionally distant, almost cold when it came to relationships. Arman had not come here for romance. In fact, the situation had been arranged by Zara's kindergarten teacher, who happened to be Ryan's cousin. She had thought the two men might help each other somehow. Arman struggling financially but full of heart, and Ryan wealthy but lonely. But the moment Arman mentioned he was a single father, Ryan's expression hardened. "I can't love a single dad," Ryan said flatly. The words felt heavier than they sounded. They carried judgment, dismissal, and something else: fear. Before the story continues, take a moment to support the channel. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us what truly matters, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel Heartfelt Stories. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts around the world. Arman did not argue. He simply nodded slowly, the way someone does when they have already endured worse disappointments. His life had never promised fairness. He had learned long ago that some doors close quietly without explanation. He stood up politely, thanked Ryan for the coffee, and prepared to leave. But something unexpected happened in that moment. As Arman reached the cafe door, his phone rang. The cheerful voice of little Zara spilled through the speaker before he could even say hello. She was excited about a drawing she had made in school, a picture of her and her father holding hands under a bright yellow sun. Her tiny voice was full of love, pride, and innocence. She told him she couldn't wait to show it to him later. The entire conversation lasted less than a minute, yet in that minute, something shifted in the room. Ryan had watched quietly, his sharp business mind suddenly observing something unfamiliar, a kind of love that no amount of money could manufacture. When Arman hung up the phone, his tired face carried the soft smile of a father whose world revolved around a small child. For the first time in years, Ryan felt an uncomfortable sensation in his chest. Envy. He had grown up surrounded by wealth, but very little warmth. His own father had been a powerful businessman who treated family relationships like business contracts. Love had always come with conditions. Success had always come first. Somewhere along the way, Ryan had convinced himself that emotional attachments only complicated life. But what he had just witnessed was different. Over the following weeks, Ryan found himself thinking about that brief moment again and again. The simplicity of it disturbed him. A man with almost nothing had something he, with billions in his bank account, had never truly experienced. Then fate intervened in the most unexpected way. One rainy afternoon, Ryan's driver took a wrong turn through an old neighborhood where the streets were flooded from a sudden storm. Traffic had slowed to a crawl. As Ryan looked out the tinted window, he noticed a familiar figure struggling to push a broken motorbike through the rain. It was Arman, and walking beside him, holding a tiny umbrella far too small for the storm, was little Zara. The scene was painfully ordinary, yet strangely powerful. The little girl laughed as rain splashed around her boots. Arman, soaked and exhausted, kept adjusting the umbrella to keep her dry while ignoring the rain pouring down his own face. Ryan felt something twist inside him. Without thinking, he told the driver to stop the car. Arman was surprised when the sleek black vehicle pulled up beside him. He looked even more shocked when the window rolled down and Ryan stepped out into the rain without hesitation. There were no dramatic speeches that afternoon, no grand explanations, just a simple offer. Ryan insisted on driving them home. During the short ride, Zara chatted endlessly about school, cartoons, and her favorite ice cream flavors. She spoke with the fearless curiosity only children possess, asking Ryan questions about his watch, his car, and why he looked so serious all the time. Something about her innocence cracked the invisible armor around Ryan's heart. Over the following months, their paths crossed again and again, sometimes by coincidence, sometimes by quiet design. Ryan began helping Arman in small ways, repairing the garage where he worked, covering Zara's school tuition anonymously, and eventually offering Arman a better position managing the mechanical operations of his logistics fleet. But the biggest change wasn't financial. It was emotional. Ryan began visiting often, usually under the excuse of discussing work matters. Yet the truth was simple. He liked being around Zara. Her laughter filled spaces inside him he hadn't realized were empty. And slowly, he began to see Arman not as a complication, but as someone remarkable, a man who had every reason to be bitter, yet chose love instead, a man who had lost everything, yet continued giving everything. Years of emotional distance began to soften. Then one bright afternoon, as sunlight streamed through the small apartment window, Zara ran into the room, holding another drawing. This one showed three figures holding hands beneath the same yellow sun. Her father, herself, and a tall man standing beside them. Ryan stared at the drawing longer than he expected, because for the first time in his life, he realized something that shocked even him. The words he had spoken months earlier, "I can't love a single dad," no longer felt true. They felt like the biggest mistake of his life. Before we reach the end of this story, here's a special request for you. Comment the word kindness below if you believe one act of compassion can change someone's entire life. Years later, people would still talk about the transformation of billionaire Ryan Malhotra. The man once known for emotional distance became one of the most generous philanthropists in the region, funding schools and support programs for single parents. But the truth behind that change was simple. It began with a rainy street, a small umbrella, and a little girl who unknowingly showed a billionaire what real love looked like. And Arman, the mechanic who had once been quietly rejected in a cafe, became not just Ryan's closest partner in business, but also the person who taught him how to open his heart. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe to Heartfelt Stories so we can continue bringing you emotional stories that remind us all of the power of kindness.